the Manager of Description Services at the State Library of Queensland. In this position, she leads two teams responsible for the acquisition, description and processing of all physical and digital resources for the State Library. Karen holds a bachelor's degree from the University of Queensland and a Master of Applied Science degree from Charles Sturt University in the field of library and information management. She has previously worked in a variety of roles in a range of libraries, with most having both a technical services and a systems focus. Karen has managed a number of major projects at State Library of Queensland in recent years, including the implementation of the One Search interface. Please welcome Karen.
Afternoon. Before I get started on this, I just want to do a really quick poll, just so I can skip some slides if I don't want to bore everyone. It did start late in the afternoon. Hands up for those who've actually heard about MarcEdit before today. Keep your hand up if you've actually used it. Okay, so you've all got a fairly good idea of the features that are involved in MarcEdit? Good. That will save us a little bit of time. So, it is a metadata editing software. Terry Reese has been working on it since 1999. I would like to say that if he was in the right country, I would give him a knighthood, because he makes my life so easy. And it is available on a number of platforms, and there is a very active user community across all of the world. So I'm going to skip through, as I found my mouse, all of the features, and we will go straight into the stuff we're here to talk about. This is going to be a mix of PowerPoint slides and live demo, which is why we've had to switch to my laptop. Okay, let's get to where I need to be. Mainly because I wanted to make sure you stayed awake. Okay, I got terribly, terribly excited last year when up on the MarcEdit list popped a little thing, Terry saying that he was working on interoperability with Alma inside MarcEdit, and I went, terrific. Dave thought I was a bit sad, but I think Dave's a bit sad sometimes too. So I put my hand up to give it a test. So actually we've gone one too far. I just need to... No, we won't worry about it. I'll just talk about it. Okay, so Alma interoperability allows you to search, create and update Alma records from within MarcEdit. Terry has up on his blog the instructions for how to do that, but configuration is quite simple. It does require a couple of prerequisites. So I'm going to go through and show you actually how to set it up, mainly on the PowerPoints because I've already got it set up on mine. So it does require an Alma API key that supports the Bib API and the User API, because it is going out to get into Alma and bring you the data back again. And so you must be sure that this key actually allows you to do read-write. And you also need to have your Z3950 access enabled in Alma so that it can come in and interrogate. Inside MarcEdit, you will need to set up a Z39 connection to your Alma instance by opening the Z3950 client, selecting Modify Databases, and you get to this screen. So we're going to go into the MarcEdit Z3950 client, select Modify Databases, add a new database, and then fill in the details so that we can talk to Alma. So we give it the name of Alma. We need to put in our Alma host, your database, port, and save. No username or password is required for the Z3950 chat. Okay, so that's our Z3950 setup. We now need to set up the actual integration. So we start in our MarcEdit preferences. So those of you who are familiar with the front screen, it's the little cog down the bottom. And we go to ILS integration. So from here, we select our system as Alma up the top, and we tick the Enable ILS options. Actually, wrong way around. Do the Enable ILS options and then pick Alma. Then put in your host name. Now, you need to be careful that you actually enter in here the domain for your API gateway, not your normal Alma instance that needs to talk to the API. You do not need a username, but you do just need to put in your API key in as the password. You're going to tick your Z3950 settings, hit select, and pick the Alma one that you just set up. And you're ready to go. That's it. That is the entire configuration to get it to talk. So what we're going to do now is show you some live. So what it lets you to do is you can work in batches, you can work in single records. So we're going to have a look at editing in batches to start with. Just keep losing my mouse. There he is. Okay. Bingo. Okay, so again, if you're familiar with MarcEdit, I'm going to straight into my Marc editor. You can see up the top here now, I have a little button that says Alma, and I've got options to search or update and create. So I'm going to go to search. I'm going to do a batch search. I'm going to tell it to match on record number, and I'm going to go and find my text file, which is simply a file of MMS IDs. That's it. No header, no column heading, nothing like that. Just my MMS IDs. And I'm going to let it search. Now, a tip, when you're doing this, don't navigate off the screen. If you navigate away, the Z3950 gets itself into all sorts of loops, and it will just sit there and tick over and not actually do anything. So this is only a small set, so I didn't want to waste too much time waiting for it to come in, so it's all going to depend on how fast we are. So I now have, it's gone away and matched for me my 29 records. And I can bring them all in now at once by going download all the items. And there's my records ready to do whatever I wish to inside MarcEdit. And if you're like me, you know how to do lots and lots and lots of special things inside MarcEdit. But what I actually want to do with these is I want to remove the 990 that's on all of these. So I'm going to go F7, find my 990, and delete them all. So they're all gone. Now my records are ready to go back to Alma. I do update, and it's now sending them back. So instead of my having to find them, create a set, save the set, and if the set was bigger than 30, not be able to catalogue them as a set, then I would have to open each one separately in the Marc editor, delete my 990, save it and release it, go back and get my next one, come back in and repeat the process. I'm already back to, I've now saved 22. So that's how fast it took me to take all of those 990s out. This is production. I'm happy to take questions as we go through, and if I start going too fast, please stop me because I do have a tendency to go a little bit fast. Now, something that I did want to show you, that it has sent these back, but what you will see, and this is one I prepared earlier, is that because there's no usernames involved, okay? So when I go to look at this in my Marc editor and I go to look at my view versions, because something has changed and I want to know who changed it, if you do it this way, what you'll get is created by will be update MS record API. Okay, it's not going to say system, it's not going to say Karen Stone. It's going to say that it was done through the API. So you'll be able to tell that this record was actually edited by using the integration with MarcEdit. Okay, so that's our editing with batches. I can also edit now, this is very, very new, can also edit holdings. Now, I don't actually want to open, no, I will open up a new one. I should have closed that one down first. Okay, I haven't actually used this at this point in time, and that is because at this point in time I don't actually have a reason for batch editing. That's not going to work because I actually didn't put this in. Actually, batch editing holdings. Other people may have a reason for doing that. I just haven't at this time. So my same set my same set of bibs. I do exactly the same thing and I get it to go and search. But this time, instead of bringing me in the mark records, I can actually tell it to download the holdings for me that are attached to those mark records. If you have more than one holdings attached to it, of course, it will bring all of them in. So it's like I said, I haven't used this because I haven't had a need for it, and it is a very new function. So now I've said, no, I don't want to create a new one if there wasn't one. I just want to bring in the ones that are there. So if you did need to do some work on batches of holdings, you can do this as well. It's a little slower to bring it in, and that's because of the way Alma is connected, has its bibs and holdings connected, but it will bring me in all of the holdings that are attached to those 30 records. So if there was something that I needed to do that was quicker to do in here, then I can do that on my holdings as well. And in the same way, once I've updated them, I can send them back to Alma. It still will only match on your bib, and then you say, bring me the holdings that are attached to those bibs. There is no way, because of the way Alma's set up, to get a string of holdings IDs and do the same thing. This is one of the problems that, when read through the list, that's one of the problems that Terry faced when he tried to do this, when people ask could they do holdings. So I could now do some editing on these and send them back. Okay. I don't always have to, go away. I don't always have to edit in batches. I can, if I want to, edit on a single record. And there's also a way to edit more than one but not a batch, which I know sounds a little bit cryptic, but I'll show you what I mean. Okay, so again, I've got my MarcEdit open, and I can do a Z3950 search just on a single MMS ID if I want to. So I'm just going to open up this one, a list that I prepared earlier that I've been working through for some time and cleaning up some 990 notes that we've put in. So I want to take this one, because I don't want to do exactly the same thing to each of these. I actually just want to bring this one in because I actually find it quicker to open them up through here than it is to find them and open them up in the MarcEdit. And saving it is quicker. So say I just wanted to take the QPLS off this, or I did want to do something else specifically just to this one, I can just do this one record at a time. What I can also do is I can bring that one in and say, oh, well, I also want to do this one. This one is, I want to do pretty much the same thing to this one. And I'm going to need two hands now because I've got to, and I can go find that one for me as well. And then when I go to this and double click on it, it'll say, do you want to append this to existing data in MarcEdit? And I go, yes. And now when I switch back to my MarcEdit, I've now got two records. So I can pick individual ones and bring them in here because I thought I only had one to look at, but I've actually got 3 or 4 that I want to do the same thing to. So I can bring those 3 or 4 in one at a time, do my bulk editing on those and send them back out again. So I like that one. I do that a lot when I'm working through spreadsheets of stuff that needs to be fixed up. So we'll get rid of that one. Okay. I've got 6 million of these open now. Okay, so editing batches, editing holdings, editing a single record, or editing more than one but not a batch. Now, the other thing that I do quite a lot, and I'm sure everyone else has the same frustration, that I need to find out how we've been structuring notes, say, for exhibitions in a 585 tag. Lo and behold, the 585 tag is not one I can get out of analytics, surprise, surprise. Surprise, surprise, it's also actually not one that you can actually search on in Alma either, but that's neither here nor there. So I want to be able to get all of those 585s into that spreadsheet like I had the 990s. So what I tend to do is I use MarcEdit's export tab delimited function to extract the tags that I can't find in Alma Analytics. So I do generally tend to gather together in some way, shape or form the records in a set that I know should have this in, and I export the full mark. Has anyone here used the exported tab delimited function? Isn't it fun? What I can then do with MarcEdit is that I can tell MarcEdit to take that set of full mark records and just bring me out the 001, maybe the 245 so I can get some context, and the tag that I actually need to do the research on. Then I have a list of MMS IDs that I need to look at. So here's another one I prepared earlier. So this is my 585. So this is what I got sent out for me from the export tab delimited. I got the 001, the 245, and what was sitting in the 585. So what I did then was I created a list that I can work through as a spreadsheet, or I can do as a batch. Thought so. I didn't actually turn these ones into that. I'm pointing to the wrong file, and it's just going to sit there and play with itself now. It's another way of getting what you need in a way that Alma can't provide it for you. I do this a lot with our original material records because there's only 10,000 of them, and if I need to do some tidying up on those, like I did some recent tidying up on what was sitting in the 856Z, so the note field, I just exported the entire 10,000 and then used the tab delimited to pull out the 856s for me, and then worked my way through doing batch updates of those. Come on, can't be that many in there. I didn't pull that many. Oh, maybe I did. Okay, we'll just ignore that one. I'll just open up another one. Okay, so another way that I can pull stuff in, I could either create a set of those and bring it in, or do through the integration. Now, it's a really good feature being able to use the Z3950 to go out and bring my stuff in and edit it and send it back. However, it doesn't work real well when you're talking large batches. It takes a little while to do that search. It takes at least 3 times to send it back. So my suggestion is, if you're doing large batches that you need work on, that you wouldn't be using that function. You would create your set in Alma and export those records from Alma. You would then open them up in MarcEdit and do your editing there, and then re-import them back to Alma to overlay the records that you have. Right? It's not ideal for lots and lots of records. I tried it, and particularly because you can't navigate away from the screen while it's searching, you're sitting there twiddling your thumbs. And I get impatient and I go to do something and find out that I've screwed it up. And I go, I know, I'm just going to do this the other way. So just keep that in mind. Okay, something else that you can do as part of the interoperability is within MarcEdit is creating records. How many people have created records from spreadsheets using MarcEdit? Don't you love that too? So I've got a choice now. I can use that functionality, create my records from a spreadsheet or a CSV, and I can now send them to Alma if I want to, or I can save them to a Marc file and import them into Alma. Now, the important thing to remember is that if I'm sending them to Alma, I'm not using any import rules. All it's going to do is to take those bib records and create a bib record in Alma. There'll be no holding, there'll be no item. You can't suppress it on the way in. You can't run any normalization across it on the way in. You can't extract any embedded order data. All you're going to do is take a bib and take it and drop it into Alma. And you also, because you haven't used an import job to do it, you can't then gather them together as a set. So I definitely have never used that, wouldn't suggest using that unless you have a specific reason for doing that. So just keep that in mind. It's a great function to have there, but I think it's got a limited amount of value. I tend generally to create them in MarcEdit and then import them into Alma. And I use this quite a lot for creating what we call core records. So, and what I do is create the core records to a certain point using this spreadsheet, and then use, no, that's because I hit the wrong thing. I want to open, thank you. Okay. So these are my very, very base core records. This is what's been created from the spreadsheet. And this is data that's been entered by another area. I actually get my the Queensland Memory staff do this for me. So it's missing a lot of basic tags. But what I've got is I've got the unique data. And another one of the lovely little things that I like about MarcEdit is that I can take what's in the publication date in the 264C and automatically have it populated into the 008 as part of this process, which I bloody love. What I've got in my tools is a task. How many of you who are MarcEdit users use tasks? Don't you love them too? So I'm just going to show you the task I'm going to run across this because it is massive. Tasks are where that you can set up a number of functions in one go. So let's have a look at this one. So when I hit this task, these are all of the things that it is going to do. It's going to do all of that in one hit. So every time I do another batch of these core records, I don't have to do all that work. I just open it, I create them using MarcEdit, open them in MarcEdit, and then run this task. So watch this fly. Ta-da! Done. Even quicker than having to fill in stuff in a template in the MarcEditor. So, and you can see because these are e-resources, we've already got the template in there for putting the handle in once we actually ingest them into the digital object management system. So again, these are all the things that we use to get more of our resources out there and into the catalogue. And like I said, I could, if I really wanted to, I could then say, send these straight through to Alma by using the create. However, they won't be suppressed. They're not finished. All right? I don't want them to go to Lives Australia. So I will actually compile these into Marc, and then I'll import them into Alma and suppress them on the way in. And actually also at the same time add a note to say that they are a core record. I was going to say I wasn't sure whether that was in there or not, but I would. That's another normalisation I would run on the way in. Another thing that I've started to do too is that we've had a few occasions when we had to clean up data. Oh, they made a change on the website and they shifted our legal deposit page. So every one of my titles that has a note that says this was acquired through legal deposit, please go to this website, needed to be changed. So that's a tedious task if you have to do it one by one. So what I discovered was that there was an easy way to do this, which is what I call creating a stub record. So again, I use my spreadsheet and I use my 001 as a match, and I put a 245 in it, and then I put in the extra data that I want or the change data that I want. So I either take them through as an overlay merge. Actually, I didn't do this for the legal deposit ones. I did this when I needed to add a new 856 link to something. You can kind of do the same way. So what it means is that I start off with something that looks very, very small. And this will be, okay. So these were some maps that we actually got as digital objects. So I created mark records for them. I had my list of 001s. I took that list and I matched them to the handle once they were ingested into Digitool. So I've created a stub record, which brings me in my own 095 for my thumbnail and my 856 for my link. So I just used the CSV for the MarcEdit function to create these little stub records. So what I'll then do is compile them into Marc, import them into Alma as a merge, where it just adds those two fields for me. So instead of having to open up this batch, which is 84 records, and go in and add the two fields manually, then this does it for me, which is good because I've got more batches of these where there's thousands of maps to do. And having to find someone to find the time to sit there and open each one up in Alma and add those two fields in, save it and release it and go back out and find the next one and bring it back in again, would take months and months and months. This took me probably half an hour all up. So it's again a way of using MarcEdit in combination with Alma to achieve the things that you can't do simply in Alma. And yes, you can use your normalization rules in Alma to change things. I actually find a lot of the time that by the time I get my normalization rule, create it, test it, save it, set it up as a process, create my set, save my set, run my process, I could have done the same thing by using MarcEdit processes. There's also a lot more power in what I can do in MarcEdit as opposed to what I can do in Alma. It's not to say I don't use the normalization rules in Alma, I just find that it's more efficient to do it in combination with MarcEdit. The other thing that we do is a fair bit of pre-ingest processing. So we do things to records before we even bring them into Alma, before they're even touched in Alma. So particularly vendor mark records, whether that be our ebook bulk records or records that we've been sent by vendors that have EOD data in them. And this is one that a colleague of mine, Corinne Dunbar, came up with. We were getting records from one of our vendors and of course the order number was the same in every single one. And when she went to import them and create the order data, Alma would spit the dummy and say, you've already used that order number because that would be what was on the first one. So Corinne had to come up with a way of taking the data that was given to us by the vendors and giving it a unique number in each of those without having to edit every single one. So she came up with a very, very clever way of doing this using the functionality that's available in MarcEdit. So let's go to this one. Okay, so we have down here the order number. And what I want to do is I want to run this task across it, which is this one. So it's going to remove a subfill Z, remove a subfill V. It's going to swap some data. I do like the swapping data. And it's going to replace something that I'm going to put into the $9. And I just want to see this one, because this is not one I've actually done myself. I'm going to take that away. Okay. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to actually put a control number in. So one of the things that you can do in MarcEdit is you can assign a control number to your records that you've got here, and it can be completely different. It doesn't have to be 001. You can actually tell it where you want to go. So I'm going to put this, I just have to make sure I do it in the right place, and I'm pretty sure she had it in the 960. And I'm going to $9, start at 1, always insert, and let's see if I can do this right. It should, no, it didn't do it. It should have put a $9 on the end of that for me. Let me try that again. This is the only thing I didn't test before I did this, as I ran out of time last night. It should go $6. $9. Start at 1. Oh, maybe that's it. Generating the current file. I'll put a 1 on, but it didn't give me $1.09. I'm not going to play with this anymore. Anyway, what it ends up doing is at the end of that, I end up with a unique order on the end of that uses that control number to add on to each one. So if I can get it to work, I will send it out to everyone to show how it works. I knew I should have done that last night. I think I'll remember what she showed me, and I forgot. Ebook bulk. Actually, I'm just going to go back out to one of the ones I've already got open. I have so many. So many tasks that I run across the ebooks that we get. They all come to me with no subfill coding in the subjects and a whole pile of other stuff that's just nasty. So as you can see here, there's no subfill coding. I actually have probably about 8 tasks lists that I run, but I'm just going to run this one so that you can see. This one's going to change. It's going to add a 506. It's going to change my 856 for me, and it's going to do a whole other thing. It's going to remove every single 035 except for one that is going to be prefixed with SLQ, and this is so that I can match it when we come to deletion time. Because I found once we started to get 2 sets of records from ProQuest, that every time I tried to import or I tried to do a deletion, it would be matching on the wrong set. So I strip out all of the 035s and I prefix these with SLQ so that it makes it easier for me. And I've now got a 506 and I've now got an 852, so it creates my holding, and my Z now says exactly what I want it to do. But I'll poll of the other ones, because I can't tell what's in this set, would also add subfield X's to specific things, Z's, Y's, all sorts of stuff that I get it to change. I also do a bit of a cleanup, because quite often these will come through with your 505s all in uppercase, which I don't like. So I also run one that goes across that with a regular expression and tries to fix up the case. It's not perfect, but it still looks a lot better than all of that shouting on the screen that you get. So a lot of that gets done before it even comes anywhere near Alma. Okay. If you need more help in the interoperability or anything else, Terry has just introduced MarcEdit context sensitive help. I don't know if any of you noticed it up in the little top on the right now. He's got a little box that says, what are you trying to do? So that's brand new in the last week or so. There is his blog, which is where the instructions are for setting up the Alma integration. There are also YouTube tutorials, which are quite useful, that I use as well. And then there's the MarcEdit list. I love the MarcEdit list. Whenever I've got to try and do something tricky and I need a regular expression, which I'm not particularly great at, I go back to the list. I save particular conversation strings where there's a regular expression that I think I might need that in the future, and I keep all of those emails. It is the best place. And the people on there are great, and Terry is terrific. You'll post something, and even though I'm sure it's midnight wherever he is, he'll come back with an answer really quickly. And I try not to disturb him because I'm sure the man doesn't get any sleep at all. But it is just the best thing in the world, MarcEdit. And I actually wanted to check something, because I have a funny feeling that in one of the things that he have in here might be what is required for us to start converting our Marc records to where we might need them in other places. So he's already got things up where you can do Sparkle and JSON, and he's got a bibframe testbed. He also has in some of his other tools. So if let me find one where we've already actually got some records open. So I've got far too many things open here now. You haven't got any, so you can go away. Oh, that's that one that's hung. And I played with this myself the other day because I actually just wanted to see how it worked. That's the one that's hung. Go away. I don't know if anyone's played with this at this point, but you can take a set of records and you can validate them against the LC subject headings. And it will come back and tell you. Okay, so validate headings. So I can go to here. I can find some records. Let's just get a little one. Let's use that one. That's only a small set. I can tell it to go away and authorise the 1xx's and 7xx's and or just the 6xx's and choose to just do subfill A, automatically correct variants, embed the URIs where possible, and if I need to, download the LC authorities. So Terry already has that there, ready for us to use. As well as, it's something else I haven't used, he has what's called an RDA helper. And the RDA helper will actually take your mark, your old AAC, 1 or 2, whatever it is, and it will convert that into an RDA record for you. Again, haven't used that myself either because we made a decision not to go back and convert at this point in time. However, should I need to, I know I can come and bring them into here and start doing that. So if we're ever looking for someone to be at the forefront of what we need to do, I'm pretty sure Terry's our man. Questions? Did I go too fast? Yes.
What do you call a large batch of records?
Anything over 100, I would lose patience. Like I said, I've usually got something else I need to do. I tend to bring them in using the Alma, that talking backwards and forwards to Alma, I tend to do that with just small batches. Anything that's a big batch, I will export the mark from Alma, bring it into MarcEdit, do my playing in there, and then reload them back in and do an overlay back into Alma. But if you're doing, like I said, if you're working through a list, like I do quite often, then it's really good for that because you can just get, okay, I need that one. Or even I'll take, like I've got 4, I might have about a dozen that are sitting there in a row that I need to do the same thing on. I'll take those and quickly make a little text file and then bring that batch in and do it. And it's still obviously a lot quicker than having to do them one by one in Alma.
I just have a query regarding reloading records from MarcEdit.
Yes?
When we export records from Alma and work on them in MarcEdit and then re-import them into Alma, we need to be careful about whether they're suppressed, whether we want them sent to Language Australia, whether we don't want them to go to Language Australia. How does that work when you're resending them back to MarcEdit? Does it just go back however it was?
Oh, when you're using interoperability? That shouldn't get affected at all because it's not re-importing them. It's as if you're saving it while you're inside the editor. And that's why you need to be careful when you do the creating because it's not the normal import process that you would go through. It's literally as if you were in the editor saving that record. Thank you.